Hello everyone, welcome to the first official upload for the channel, and I can't tell you how excited I am to finally say those words. It only took a lot of years and setbacks, but finally here we are. First things first, we're starting a series where we'll be analyzing with some video essays the history of COD zombies throughout the years, discussing some things I would change to maps to make them overall better, and gameplay changes based on each title. And we'll conclude with a video recapping all we have come to talk about in the coming weeks and what my thoughts are for the future of Call of Duty Zombies. But before we get into that, let's break this long-running history down into some more manageable pieces, starting at the beginning. World at War. This Call of Duty, developed by Treyarch, released in the year 2008, and as I'm sure most of you already know, Zombies started out as nothing more than a mode devs messed around with to simply pass the time and take a well-deserved break from developing the main game mechanics, and it was a featured surprise for players upon completion of the World at War campaign. Also, some final notes before we get into the beef of this video here. As we were talking about early zombies, I'm going to go ahead and limit myself to only allowing one instance of adding a pack-a-punch to a map that does not currently have one, as otherwise I would put that on every map. You know, obviously every map would be better with a pack-a-punch because you would feel stronger, and part of the gameplay loop of zombies and the appeal is starting off weak, getting stronger, moving on, do it again. So that being said, that is one restraint I will be placing upon myself. Also, since these maps have been featured in multiple iterations already, I will be trying to base it off of the Chronicles versions exclusively, as the changes they made there are universally appreciated. But with that intro out of the way, let's get into why we're here. 3 changes I'd make to each World at War zombie map, starting with Nocturuntoten. The iconic German bunker is where this all started. This confined concrete fortress serves as a bare bones entry that only takes a quick glance to largely see everything it has to offer. But let's see if we can't polish this bunker up and start making it look a little bit more like the Z House in no time. First change I would make would be moving the zombie spawns closer to the actual structure. I know this was initially done to make it a little bit more atmospheric, but it takes way too long to get going on Noct when the early rounds end up feeling like around 256 in BO3, simply because they're dragging their heels with lead weights in their shoes, trying to get to the windows. I feel like this is a simple enough change that many would appreciate. The alternate solution here would be the introduction of a rampage device like Cold War implemented later in its life cycle, allowing players to speed up the rounds and get into some good old-fashioned survival map gameplay quicker. For the second change, I'm sure you remember the first time you loaded up Noct, saw you had the option of buying one of 2 doors, the traditional doorway often known as the help door due to it having help written on it, or the stair debris. If you bought the help door, you'd be greeted by the mystery box, home to many powerful weapons to help you survive the undead hordes. And if you open the stair debris, well, you'd be greeted by that damn cabinet of crushed dreams for 5,000 points. Also in doing so, kills the only camping spot on the map because you just made it that much easier for them to get up there. Thus, I propose simply removing this option altogether, completely removing the stairs and leaving it at that. The other option could be to add another room there, where you just walk out the back way. But as I can't think of what I would want to put in that room, I feel it's best to just simply remove the stairs altogether, which would also allow for more space in the bottom floor as the only known train spot on the map for the most part. As I previously mentioned, the infamous gun cabinet is coming in at our third change for Noct. One of the biggest memes in Call of Duty Zombies history came in the map that started it all. For a mere 5,000 points, you can hate yourself more than your wallet will after you bought it. At least in the Chronicles version, it gives you the Locust, which is an improvement from the World at War cabinet, but it is still not worth this cost. Here I present a new idea. What if by paying 5,000 points, it would reveal a part to repair a trap that would be added to the map, such as this tower that exists outside of the map, that could operate something like the sniper tower trap from Mob of the Dead, or sound a siren drawing zombies towards it before hitting it with airstrikes similar to the airstrikes featured in Origin that would wipe out the horde. Our next map comes in the form of the first DLC featured to add a zombies experience to Call of Duty. This first zombies experience came in the form of Vivec, a map that I am very biased towards, I will admit. It is my favorite World at War map. If you want to tell me why it shouldn't be in the comments, feel free to, but you look at Vivec and try to tell me it's not a fun map. You have a unique spawn system that's only been reused 2 times as far as I'm aware, adding some uniqueness to a map that is already dripping with such a perfectly crafted energy that is one of the best zombie maps at capturing that feeling. And every round you spend in these walls, it feels like you're closer to becoming a patient yourself. But with that intro out of the way, let's get into some improvements. First things first, I'm going to come out absolutely swinging here and I think a special zombie would really bring the experience of Vivec home. I'm not talking about anything wild like a Margwa, although could you imagine? Like, just take 1 second and imagine a Margwa chasing your ass down a hall in Vivec. but I'm talking more small scale things, like a special such as like a Nova variant. And as much as I don't love the Novas, but if they were a dog style round, I think this could really improve the overall experience of Verrückt. Not only then would you get a max ammo at the end of it, but it would fit the aesthetic of this creepy experimentation on humans that just overall would send it over the edge. Up next, I'm going to go ahead and redeem my one-time use of adding a pack-a-punch to a map. In terms of where it would go, my first thought is the existing courtyard fountain as a pack-a-punch. You would either activate something in the map to teleport into the courtyard temporarily, similar to how Kino's pack-a-punch keeps you on a timer, after which you'd be teleported back, or there'd be a process of blowing open a wall or barricade to be able to access the courtyard for regular gameplay, where you would then go approach the fountain and place the gun into the blood of the fountain. It would sink in and reveal itself back up, almost like the Shadows of Evil pack-a-punch and how it takes it and then brings it back, but it would just sink into the blood, and it could come out with this cool blood and electricity sort of camo to it. But I think that'd just be a really good way to be using the iconicism of the map and improving overall gameplay. Keeping on brand with the whole shock therapy vibes of the map, a simple innovation such as adding a substantial wonder weapon, preferably electric based to fit the aesthetic, such as the Wonder WAW featured in the next map, instead of the godforsaken Winter's Howl. Here's a little side rant, by the way, that it keeps me up at night, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. Why is it so hard to make Winter's Howl work? Like, all it had to be would be a clone of the baby gun from Shangri-La, where it would just always freeze and make it a one-shot to run through them with a somewhat decent ammo pool, and no one would hate on it as much as it is now. That's all you had to do. Or at least make it to where zombies can't run through their frozen friends for a short time to temporarily bottleneck the hallways, and then that would allow you to like create space and have a little bit more interesting gameplay. But with that rant out of the way, just overall, I think this map needs a wonder weapon. It's so confined, and the zombies are so aggressive that I think that this is a must-have, and the Winter's Howl simply is never going to make the cut. Shino Numa, the first zombie map to allow the player outside the confines of a building, and they're thrown straight into the heart of a Japanese swamp of death. Featuring a host of other firsts for the franchise, such as a fast-traveling mechanic, randomizing perk locations, the Wonder WAW, and Hellhound rounds. This is a map I overlooked for some time due to Verrückt being such a fun game design for me, and then Darice really upping the overall gameplay of the mode. But as I've gone back to play it recently, I really enjoy this map a lot more than I previously thought. However, with a few gameplay tweaks, I still feel we can round the map out and bring it more into the modern era of COD zombies. Now, first up, that fast travel mechanic I mentioned in that intro, it's more of a medium speed travel mechanic. The zip line is just awful. First of all, I don't really know how we call it a zip line when it doesn't look like a zip line, but it's, that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but it's just not fun to use. It's overpriced and under utility, and that's the worst combination you can possibly have. I think it could overall be improved by adding a sense of increased mobility. Firstly, by adding each of the map's branches having an overall real zip line mechanic, and replace this current zip line, more of the gondola system that we've come to see, something more like the zipline handle features in Togger Toten, where you could go up and down at will on a cooldown, obviously, for balancing reasons. But this will allow you to traverse from branch to branch without having to run through the main building and then run out to the end of the branch to get a perk again if you went down or whatnot. But overall, this would just widely be welcomed, at least by me, to overall improve that sense of mobility in this very linear experience. Up next, as I stated in the intro, this is the first instance of perk locations being randomized. However, unlike other maps that will randomize perks, such as in the Giant or Shadows, there's really no indication of what you're going to get before you get there. So before you spend your hard-earned points in the early rounds, dumping 1,750 points into a branch just to see Mule Kick staring back at you, this is a very bad experience, especially for newer players. This is where I think we could innovate it in bringing up to more of a Shadows of Evil system of the broken perk bottles, which would help players identify what perks they want and where they have to go to get them during that playthrough. Lastly, and this is a little bit of a side note after the fact, I never mentioned the shield in the introduction as something I could only limit to one per map, but I decided that after the fact, because I really wasn't going to think about adding a shield, but I think Shino Numa is a perfect instance of where a shield would be really useful. While you could argue in Verrückt because it's so tight-quartered, I could see it altering the gameplay too much to where it would just not be a fun experience. However, with Shino Numa, the amount of water slowing you down, which if anyone thinks that the mud on Origins is anything to scoff at, look at this is is liquid cement. This is the worst. In any instance of you barely touching it, immediately bringing your speed to nothing, the zombies, if there's enough behind you, will catch up, and it could red screen you even with Jug, because they just come at you and hit you that fast. So I think the layout of the map is conducive to adding a buildable table for a shield as well, or maybe some other means of getting a shield if they want to add like a side Easter egg to do it, however they want to implement it. I'm not the developer here, but I think it would overall just be a really good change for the map. Darice, by far the most iconic map of the World at War zombie catalog, and one of the most well-known maps in COD zombie history. It stands as one of the best zombie maps ever made in its simplicity, yet advancements for the franchise's future, such as the introduction of the Pack-a-Punch teleporting system, and one of the most iconic items in gaming, the monkey bomb. Now, with all that being said, you may wonder, hey, how are we going to improve a map that's as good as this? Good question. I actually don't really know. This section of the script by far took the longest because this map is that deserving of its status as one of the best ever made. But let's dive in and try to scrounge up some improvements to overall make Darice a little bit better than it already is. As a last note, like the other maps being based off the Chronicles version, I will be basing this off of the Giant version of the map because it has already upped the Darice experience. But with that being said, back to the video. The Giant Laser bonus perk Easter egg is a fun little bonus to the map Darice, in which by getting monkey bombs from the box and throwing them to each of the teleporters and activating them, finally hitting a button by the Pack-a-Punch itself will reveal a hidden perk location. Currently, it can either reveal itself as Stamina Up or Deadshot Daiquiri. Now, it's no secret that Deadshot is an F tier perk and always will be. It is insanely bad, and I'm genuinely surprised that it took until Cold War to see this perk becomes a more solid choice. And Stamina Up is a very solid perk in my opinion, but on this map, I feel it is super unnecessary. Between not having a very large footprint and having access to the teleporter system, nothing is ever too far away to justify running this with your 4 perk slot limit. That leads me to a change that I think would fix 2 issues with 1 move. Instead of revealing one of these 2 perks, it would reveal a Wonder Fizz machine and unlock a 5th perk slot for all players as a little extra incentive, allowing for perks like Widow's Wine and Electric Cherry a chance to be used on this map, which would be a welcome addition for most players. Next, as this is the first instance of the Wonder WAF and a Pack-a-Punch being featured in the same map, I think I can complain about the Wonder WAF and its upgrade here, even though it's not this map's fault. But the upgrade of Wonder WAF should be able to chain lightning to far more zombies than its non-upgraded counterpart. Currently, the Pack-a-Punch version is a mild improvement over its base form, and I think that either they should amend this overall or add a genuine upgrade quest, for instance, shooting a shot at the teleporter base or control panels, and do that to each of the teleporters similar to the Giant Laser Easter egg, would then supercharge the weapon, because let's be honest, for such a cool looking wonder weapon with such an awesome concept, it feels rather underwhelming compared to a lot of others, and this could help fix that. Lastly, this is a bit of a nitpick, but then again, everything for the Darice section has been. Like I said, Darice is loved for a reason, but if you've ever looked at the perk distribution on this map, it is extremely lopsided towards the teleporter B side of the map. I mean, there's one spot through the second door on that side, one immediately through the next door on that side, and there's one accessible once you've dropped down from this area and walked back towards the spawn doors. Meanwhile, deep in teleporter A territory, there's hardly a reason to go back there once you've opened Pack-a-Punch. Besides the occasional box movement there, now there is a perk spot sort of near this teleporter in the form of one of the most notorious perk locations in zombies history, tucked away with 2 windows right by it in the original Jug spot on Darice. I just think that this change would help balance the areas of the map out and utilize more of the well-crafted map that Treyarch created. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Up next, we will be doing the same thing we did in this video, but for Black Ops 1 maps. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to hit a like. And if you're excited about next week's video, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you there. Hey! Want to see me before into the next video? Go follow my Twitch at The Real Fighting Line 1, where I stream zombies and a bunch of other games. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.